It's time for Recipe of the Day. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah actually started last night, but today is the first day of Hanukkah. And so I want to talk about chocolate babka. Now, this is not technically a Hanukkah food, but since 2016, when Bon Appetit declared the babka the new bagel, I have it on good authority that it is never a bad time to serve babka, especially a chocolate babka like this one. And that good authority is my friend Emily Pastor, the amazing cookbook author. You've heard me talk about her before. Her latest book is Instantly Mediterranean, and it is all Instant Pot and Air Fryer recipes that are Mediterranean inspired, delicious, and beautiful. So good. I will put a link to that cookbook in the show notes in case you are looking for a gift for your favorite Instant Pot or Air Fryer lover. But now we are going to talk about Emily's chocolate babka recipe. So a babka is somewhere between a cake and a bread. In America, we make it with a yeast dough. So the leavening agent is yeast, not baking powder, not baking soda. And it's very rich with lots of butter and eggs, and it's sweet with sugar. And then different fillings can be used. The one I'm talking about today is a chocolate filling, but there are ones that have like Nutella and nuts inside, and you can do jam, cinnamon. I mean, if you saw the classic Seinfeld episode about the babka, there was like a chocolate cinnamon babka debate, I believe. So there's lots of different flavorings that you can do. And I think what these babkas are most known for is the like swirling of the filling in the dough. So I'm definitely going to tell you how to get that effect. So I'll just start by saying that this recipe makes 2 loaves, and Emily says that the way that the dough is made, you pretty much have to make 2. It's just a big batch dough. So you always end up with 2, which is great because you can freeze one after it cools and have it for later, or you can take it to a friend's. If you're invited over, it's the perfect thing for this time of year. You're going to start with your stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, and you're going to add 5 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of sugar, a packet of instant or fast rising yeast, that's 1/4 ounce, and a teaspoon of fine sea salt. To that, you're adding a cup of milk that's been heated to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Mix with that paddle attachment until a shaggy dough forms. Then you're going to be adding 3 eggs. Ideally, you have them at room temperature. You're going to add them one at a time, sort of letting it mix in between, and then you're going in with a teaspoon of vanilla extract, scraping down the sides as necessary. Then, with the motor still running, you're going to add unsalted, softened butter, 1 tablespoon at a time. Just add it and wait and add it and wait. Be patient. You're doing it 1 tablespoon at a time until it's fully incorporated. It might take a few minutes. Okay, then you're going to switch to the dough hook and let it knead the dough, scraping down the sides every now and then. You keep kneading the dough like that until it gets smooth and shiny. It's going to take about 10 minutes. You could knead it by hand, but it's going to take a little while. This is where that stand mixer is really, really helpful. Okay, and now you can put that dough into a well-oiled bowl and cover it, and then put it in the fridge for 6 hours or overnight. Emily recommends that kind of slow cold rise, and that really like splits up the work. So you're doing some one day and some the other day, which is also great if you want to like do it tonight and have it tomorrow for your dinner. It'll be freshly baked tomorrow, but a lot of the work will have been done tonight. So that's an option. Or you can rise it in a warm place in your house until it's expanded by 50%. That's going to take an hour to 90 minutes. I actually, when I'm rising dough, what I like to do is to put a glass measuring cup or a mug with some water in it in the microwave for a minute. And then I take that out. Now the microwave is kind of warm and a little steamy in there. And then I put my covered bowl of dough inside of the microwave. Do not turn the microwave on again. You're not going to like cook it in there. You're just using that residual heat from the water that evaporated in there to help with that dough rising. And it also stops it from being in any kind of ventilated area. There's no breezes going by the microwave, you know? Now, I should just say, if you're trying to decide between rising it slowly in the fridge or doing it in the 90 minutes, like at room temperature, Emily says that you'll have a better dough with better flavor that is more manageable, easier to work with if you do that slow rise in the fridge. So if you have the time for that, or if you want to start the day ahead, that is the best way to do it. Okay, once the dough is risen, it is time to to fill and shape the babka. So that's why I'm going to tell you how to get that cool swirly effect. First, you're going to get out 2 loaf pans and you're going to grease and flour them, or you can use parchment paper. And then you're going to make your chocolate filling. Put a stick of unsalted butter, that's half a cup, and 4 ounces of bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate into a saucepan, and you're melting those together over low heat, stirring constantly until you have a smooth paste. Then take that off the heat. Then in a separate bowl, sift together 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar and 1/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. And then you'll add your melted butter chocolate mixture and stir it until you have a smooth paste. Then just set that aside while we roll out the dough. So divide the dough in half. Wrap the half that you're not using in plastic wrap and refrigerate it until you need it, just keeping it sort of nice and ready. And then your first dough, you're going to roll out on a floured board or on your counter into a rectangle that's about 15 by 11 inches. Then you're going to add that chocolate filling and spread it all out in a nice thin layer all the way across the whole thing. Then, starting with one of the long ends, you roll it into a jelly roll, nice and tight, and then pinch and seal where you finish off so you have a seam running all the way along the length of your jelly roll. And then you're just going to trim off the 2 little ends just because they probably don't have as much filling and they're not as thick as the rest of your dough. And now here's where that cool technique happens. You are going to cut the dough lengthwise all the way across, all the way through. So now you have 2 long halves of dough. Then you essentially twist or braid those 2 together. So pinch 2 of the ends together and then just twist one on top of the other, one on top of the other, all the way along. You see how that's going to make all those little twisty swirlies all the way through it because you have the layers essentially of chocolate and dough. Then you move that into your prepared pan, cover it with a clean tea towel, and let it rise in a warm place until it's increased by size about 10 to 20%. It's going to take 40 minutes to an hour. Then you're preheating the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I didn't say it, but obviously you had to take the second dough out of the fridge at some point and repeat that whole process with it. So then when it's time to bake, you are baking 2 of these loaves. It's going to take 50 minutes to an hour for them to cook. You need a skewer inserted right into the middle to come out clean. And I'll just say that if the top starts to brown too much, it's darkening, you can cover it with foil. You do really want the bread to be fully cooked in the middle though. So if it's browning a little bit too much on top, cover that up so that it has the time to finish cooking inside. Now, the babka, you probably know, has that nice shiny syrupy exterior. And so we need to make a syrup. While the loaves are baking, you're mixing together 1/3 of a cup of water and 3/4 of a cup of sugar and 1/2 to a teaspoon of an optional additional flavor. Orange blossom water, rose water, vanilla extract, a little fruit liqueur. I really love raspberry with chocolate, so like Chambord would be fantastic. You combine those in a small saucepan and bring them to a boil, stirring just to dissolve the sugar, and then take it off the heat and allow it to cool while the breads are baking. Once the breads are done baking, you are going to transfer the pans with the bread in them onto cooling racks. So these loaves cool in the pan, okay? And while they're in that pan, while they're still warm, you're going to brush them with that syrup. Just brush the tops. Now, if that syrup starts to kind of pool on top, wait a few minutes for it to absorb in and then put the rest of the syrup on. You do want to use it all divided between the 2 loaves. Then let those loaves cool really well before you remove them. They might still be warm in the middle, and chocolate babka is delicious served a little bit warm, but you want it mostly cool. That's going to help it set and make it more sliceable. And then, yeah, you serve it warm, or you can serve it at room temperature. Store them in the fridge to keep them freshest the longest. And if you want to take that second one and store it in the freezer, let it cool completely, and then wrap it really well. Since you put so much work into this, I would definitely wrap it in plastic wrap and then wrap it in like foil or wax paper and then put that into a freezer safe zip top bag. And then you know it's going to be as fresh as possible. Oh, take as much air out of that zip top bag as you can as well. Okay, I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is December 26th of 2024. I hope you have a delicious Hanukkah or Boxing Day. That's what we're doing today. Boxing Day celebrations for me are keeping my pajamas on all day and not doing anything. Whatever you're doing, I hope you have a great day. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.